To my fellow farmers, remember this: we're not going to wait for the rains for us to produce food for our animals. Let's think of alternatives. Let's utilize irrigation where we can to make sure that our animals have got the best food throughout the year. As a human being, you wouldn't want to eat good food for only for 6 months and the other months you are eating nothing. Please, let's do the same with our animals. Let's make sure that they've got good food throughout the year.
This is Asake Online. I am Busani Bafana. Welcome to Agriculture on Site. Today we're taking a deep dive into livestock value chains. And in the studio with me, I've got Professor Sikhalazo Dube, who's a livestock specialist, who's also a farmer and a rangeland ecologist, as well as the country representative of the International Livestock Research Institute. Professor Dube, great to have you.
Thank you, Busani. I'm happy to be here.
Advancing livestock for economic development was a headline theme of a recent conference in Bulawayo on livestock. I'm intrigued to actually find out, why should farmers really care about livestock value chain? Maybe let's start there.
When we start talking about livestock value chain, the value, we underline the word value. It means the whole operation, the whole sequence of moving from the mind, the thinking around keeping livestock to the actual process of keeping these livestock, processing them and delivering them to consumers. So you deliver to consumers goods and services from livestock. And it should matter because you want to give the consumer a product that they'll be happy with. So as a farmer, you want to be proud of what you deliver to society and make money out of it. It becomes livestock value chains when you start making money out of it, making an income out of it.
Then so immediately, then how can actually farmers, dive and benefit really from actual these livestock value chains? How do they go about it?
They need to know what they are looking for. How do I want to make income or diversify my sources of income? Or how do I want to associate with livestock in the context of value chains? So you need to know what the market is looking for, what are consumers looking for, and how you can get there without making losses. How do you commercialize your enterprise so that you earn an income from it? You don't want livestock keeping to be a burden. It comes with risks, losses, but you want it to benefit you. Aesthetically, you want to be happy having these animals, but also make money out of these animals. So you want to identify those high value chains where you can make the most money. Making money, the most money, means getting the right inputs, making sure you align with the right markets, and also you align with what the consumers are looking for, and you work your product towards that. That's what farmers need to do. So you want to make sure, if it's in the context of livestock, you have got the right animal for your environment. You have got the right inputs to make sure that your animal grow. That's the feed side of it. And you've got the right market that is going to uptake your animal and incentivizes your investments. You don't want to beautify this animal nutritiously and aesthetically and get to a market that doesn't value that. So that's very important, is that farmers should care because they want to deliver a perfect product or near perfect product that sustains life, but also protects the environment. Greenhouse gas emissions are real. And the increase in temperatures affects your productivity, heat stress in some of these animals. So a farmer needs to be involved. So they need to learn about what they are going to do with this animal. And for us as ILRI, we believe that taking care of the environment, taking care of the human side of it is critical. Better lives, better earth through livestock.
And let's get practical. What concrete or practical steps can farmers take right now to in fact tap into the livestock value chain so that they can benefit, I think, as you say, from commercialization?
We've got we are probably sitting at half of what we are looking for in terms of milk. For example, we are probably 67 million liters of milk, producing about thereabouts as a country, while we need 120, maybe 120 million liters of milk. That's a gap already. That's an opportunity already. Tap into that. Bring animals that are going to produce this, the 53 million liters of milk. Plug into that gap. The demand for milk is high. The demand for meat is high, and for quality meat is high. We have a very growing urban population, a descending one for that matter. That's why we are moving towards 2030 vision, 2030, a middle income country by then. Middle income people are descending. They've got names for cuts of meat. That's an opportunity. Produce an animal whose cuts of meat are identifiable, and the consumer will pay for it. We have a gap in the egg space. So poultry, that's another area. So all these value chains. And people are health conscious with environmental issues. They are looking for quality or types of meat that are probably going to help them. So lean red meat. So the goats and all these provide that. The rabbits and others, they provide that. There is an opportunity. Demand for animal sourced foods is high. And therefore, farmers can plug into that by producing the right animals for the right market. So those are practical steps: is acquire the right genetics, feed the right genetics with the right foods, provide it with water, provide it with... You can't, in a changing environment, in climate change, be dependent on rain-fed food for these animals. Utilize irrigations, identify sources of feed, repurpose byproducts from other operations, like from the crop. So crop livestock integration becomes very important. Throw away nothing, burn nothing from your field, convert it into livestock feed. And with minimum extra other ingredients, you can bring that and do make sure that your animals are in good condition throughout the year. Our problem, for example, in Matabeleland side and other dry parts of the country, is not the animals themselves. Is the fact that these animals do lose weight, condition, at certain times of the year, and we don't benefit from them during that period. So maintain them and increase their body condition and benefit from the prices that recognize that.
Right. But interestingly, many farmers, well, maybe not saying many, but an interesting portion of farmers, they raise livestock for subsistence and to some extent for prestige, status, as it were. How do we change that mindset that maybe then they can look at livestock as a business? Because you're already saying to unlock the value of the livestock value chain, you actually need to be able to present what the market needs.
I think it's making those opportunities, like I'm talking about, visible. Let them see the value in that. We are not going to change them. We are going to add value to their livelihood. They still have to maintain the aesthetic side of livestock farming, but with good animals. But also, in doing so, we have to encourage them to offload animals. Remember, these are entities that produce, living beings that produce. So let them grow, be offloaded, and more will grow. Value add. So we're not saying abandon your traditional benefits from livestock. We're saying add more to that. That's the value chain concept of it. Add value to that. You have to live out of these animals. They will reproduce. And if you keep them well, if you feed them, you have the right breed, and you nourish them well, they'll give you a calf every year. So which means you can off-take every year.
Does it? Would that mean that farmers have to improve on the breeds that they already have, or they have to get exotic breeds, or they can improve the indigenous, if I may put it that way, indigenous breeds? Because I would recall that you once mentioned that when you are interacting with farmers and actually training them, you discourage farmers from telling you that they are improving animals that have got names, for example, because they become part of the family ZPRA. So how do you actually change that?
Yeah, what's important is once you start into value addition and into living out of livestock, income generating from livestock, peg them, give them numbers, so that you're not too attached to them. Even if they don't perform, you are happy to offload them. So it's very important that I'm a proponent of both the exotic and the indigenous breeds, depending on your circumstance and situation in terms of resources. So if you've got resources and you can afford the exotic breeds, by all means. But in the context that we live in now, in climate change and increasing greenhouse gas emissions, we want to identify breeds, whether indigenous or exotic, that have a high potential to reduce greenhouse gas emission. What do I mean? We can feed them the right feeds and forages that make sure that instead of blepping, instead of producing methane, they actually use the energy for production. So a high producing animal, producing more milk, more meat, and all that, the chances are very high that it also reduces methane emission. It's an efficient animal. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for efficient animals. These could reside within our indigenous breeds. That's why they are here. That's why they've sustained in these harsh environments. So a better stewardship around keeping these animals could probably increase their productivity and improve, reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So that space is okay. Have these indigenous breeds, promote them, do community breeding programs, select within the good ones. Let's measure some of these effects, which is what we do at ILRI. We have got a center, the Mazingira Lab, which is dedicated to measuring some of these parameters that give us indications around greenhouse gas emissions. We are busy now with a program evaluating all our forage genetics that we have to identify those that, when utilized by animals, reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So we are sensitive to the environment, but also we want to produce. We are not saying reduce the number of animals or increase the number. We are saying make your animals be efficient, so that from one animal, within a short space of time, you get a kg of meat.
All right. I was just about to ask you that, are you advocating that we should eat less meat or get rid of our animals? But maybe then I could ask, how do farmers make their animals efficient, as it were?
Feed them right, get the right breed, make sure it's located in the right place. The geography is important. I come from the drier parts of Zimbabwe, in Cholocho. I'm not even sure what region we are in. I don't want to use the other names of the regions because we get rain once in 20 years or something like that. So we have to have animals that will eat less, but convert that that less that they eat, convert it into meat and milk and other products. That's what we're looking for. That's an efficient animal. That's why we are saying science should support farmers, bring evidence to farmers on the best suited breeds for their environment, so that farmers can adopt and utilize those. They can't be inferior breeds. They have to be highly productive breeds. We are looking for a kg of meat per unit area at the shortest possible time. That's what is important.
So it is critical that farmers now need to be very selective.
Yes.
In the animals that
definitely. You have to be selective. You can't be keeping Ujamluti or Usara, whichever name you give to this animal, and it's giving you a calf. Usara is giving you a calf once every 4 years. Yet it's consuming food, emitting greenhouse gases, and you're getting nothing for it. You want animals that are going to produce every year, a calf every year, and that will convert that into meat, so they gain weight fast. That's very important, that animals do that for you. They lay enough eggs if they are chickens. They are dual purpose, and they use less of the resources from the environment. Remember, the animals use two things: water twice, for drinking and for the food that you produce for them. So that liquid becomes very expensive if the animal is not converting quickly into the needed kgs of meat.
So the inefficient animals, your goats, your cattle, those are good for slaughtering.
Offload them at every event that you can get rid of those. They shouldn't be in there.
Right.
Yeah.
An aspect of the improvement of this livestock value chain is also how farmers, how to look after rangelands and your grasslands. How could actually farmers really turn their rangelands into wealth so they can benefit from?
That's a critical point. When we talk of animals, people always forget that the primary source of food for the animal is the rangelands. So you want to make sure that that primary source is utilized. If it's for grazing, is grazed with a purpose, which is improving your animals. So those community-based programs for managing natural resources are important. Designating where we will utilize when, rehabilitating those that have been damaged, the rangelands that have been damaged, that are producing very little. Must be a priority for livestock farmers. Making sure that we've got the right mix of grasses in there, and also the right mix of other important plants in there, your legumes in there, enriching the soil and also enriching your animals. That's critical. So let's come together as communities and identify our resources that we want to utilize for grazing, put them together, manage them, let the technical side help us. Some of them rehabilitate them, increase dual purpose trees in there that can be used for energy and also for feeding animals. Let's have agroforestry be part of that, silver pasture be part of that. Let's invest in greening our rangelands and making sure that they produce more than just grass for animals. And let's utilize them with a purpose, not haphazardly and everywhere.
And how do you also bring in like women and the youth, to benefit, from the livestock value chains?
That's critical. We have to be intentional in terms of engaging the youth and women. We have to look at policies that encourage the participation of women and the youth in the high value markets and high value value chains. The red meat, we've done some work here in Zimbabwe and Malawi, specifically encouraging women to participate in the red meat value chains because they are the high value markets. They do come with a lot of cultural issues that we need to relook and see how we can enable those cultural issues without abolishing them, but use them to enable the participation of women and the youth. And you are talking of a value chain. So there are different components along the value chain, different nodes of the value chain that tend to bring themselves closer to participation for women and for youth. Logistics, processing, let them participate along the value chain and let them benefit. Small stock is another area that women can be part of, and without a lot of issues around assets and collateral. That's what we're looking for. But let's have deliberate investments for the participation of women and the youth. Yeah, and other people with other challenges, mental health challenges, health challenges. We have to be inclusive in the value chain. If we don't do that, we are like people going to war with half the army. If women and the youth are not there, that's even a third of the army. So it is not fighting. So we need to bring them on board if we are to unlock the potential and the value and to commercialize the livestock value chains.
And also, I would ask you why should we pay attention really to developing or to actually improving the offtake of livestock based products? When we talk about the importance of nutrition in Africa.
I've said this before, but maybe others who believe otherwise might fight me. But the protein, the animal source to foods, the protein in the animal source to foods is protein that immediately goes into utilization by the body. It doesn't have to go many processes for it to be available for use by the body. And it's very important. We have societies where we are that are dependent 60 or more % on livestock. We want to make sure that they derive nutrition from there as well, to ensure that their livelihoods are improved. Make sure that the first 500 days or the first 2 years or so, these children have got access to animal sourced protein. That will help with developments and making sure that the aptitude of our children is improved.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then just lastly, can we get science, farmers, and the policymakers to really speak to each other in terms of developing these livestock value chains?
We believe in multi-stakeholder platforms, making sure that all stakeholders get a platform to sit and talk together, to demystify some of the beliefs that sit there. I remember we ran some platforms here in Zimbabwe, and one of the things that we were trying to do was, because there are these middlemen that are always ostracized, and we said, let them come to this meeting, talk to the farmers, let's hear what are the issues. And then you discover that some of the middlemen, they actually benefit farmers who can't afford to take animals to the market. And the middleman comes in and at farm gate and all that. So we start debating the pricing issue. And then the farmers start realizing, no, the guy is not stealing. It's not, there are those who steal, yeah. But the majority of them are actually making a loss. Because they take an animal, they pay you, they go to the market condemns the animal, and they can't bring it back to you. They've made a loss. So that dialogue is very important. So the policy dialogues are very important, where policymakers come in and we get a feel of how they make policy. Farmers come in with their issues, but most importantly, those supporting farmers, Extension and others, have to train farmers to make sure that they reflect themselves in solutions. That's very critical. Until people reflect themselves in solutions, what we call science, until they reflect themselves, the indigenous knowledge being part of that discourse, they will not see the need to uptake that. So let them see themselves, the value that they can derive by participation or implementing or adopting, and then we will see a change in the mindset. But let's work with the people. Let's not dump, offload, download things to the people. Let's work together and dialogue will move towards adoption, but also benefit from the science that is out there. There's a lot of good work that has been done by scientists at laboratory level, at up to landscape level. So we need to make sure that farmers are part of that, policymakers are part of that, scientists are part of that, so that we all are talking about the same thing. I'm a farmer, I've got problems that need to be solved. I'm a policymaker, I want to formulate policies that will ensure that the science that you have given me as evidence can be a part of the solution.
Thank you so much for your insights.
Thank you very much for having me.
I was speaking to Professor Sikhalazo Dube, who's actually a livestock specialist, as well as a farmer, and also is a rangeland ecologist, and is the country representative of the International Livestock Research Institute, ILRI. Livestock means lives, and livestock enhances the livelihoods. I am Busani Bafana. Thank you for joining us on Agriculture on Site. Remember to actually follow us on all our social media platforms as CITE ZPRA.